please welcome Freya.
Hi everybody. So I'm going to talk to you today about psychology and how we can increase conversions. So I'd love to ask an initial question. How many people in the room have enrolled a conversion rate expert to come and help them do some of the stuff on their site? If you have, put your hand up. Bangers, we got 3 people. Woo! Okay, so what I'm going to do now, and I'm going to give myself the ick. I thought if I creep myself out at the beginning, by the end of this, life will be cushy. So I'm going to introduce myself 2 ways. And if you like number 1, put your hand up. And if you like number 2, I'd like you to give me a hoy yeah noise. Are you guys ready? Okay, so the first version is, I'm going to calm myself down, is hi everybody, my name is Freya. I've been in digital media for 15 years and I have a PhD in psychology. Okay. Number 2 is hi everybody, my name is Freya and I started in digital when I was 19 years old. We had Ask Jeeves as a search engine back then. I really like chocolate, Tottenham Hotspur, 90s music, and I also have a 4-year-old son called Ollie. So if you like number 2, give me any noise.
Yep.
Brilliant. So this is the part of conversion rate optimization that I love, and it's getting feedback from your audience. And there's some tools that you can use. So when Gemma was going through her data, I was like, we teamed up and obviously took notes. And how you can map through that funnel explanation report is looking at Hotjar and looking at what people click on and rage clicks and look at what is infuriating your audience. And if you can understand that that button is just terrible, you can then go through to your dev and be like, look, buddy, instead of a square button, let's make it peel and split our traffic and see what goes down. So we're going to go through some psychological hacks on how you can test your ad creative, so you can test your landing pages. You can really kind of start looking at your website from more of a, I'm going to shake this until I either break it, or sparkles are going to come out of that box. Does that sound like it's going to be quite fun? Bang it. So it goes through essentially what we're going to try and see if we can achieve from today. So we're going to understand consumer buying behaviour and why they do what they do. So leaning on my PhD side of life, I loved figuring out why people did the actions that they did. And what I implore all my clients to do is to figure out who their avatar is. And I've enabled my avatar as either Dave or Catherine, or as I like to call her, Cat, because she's an advocate and she refers businesses into your brand or your service that you have. So if you're ever looking more on why people are coming into your website, we're going to go through some tricks. But this is where you really have to figure out, why do they want that car that Gemma talked about? What is that reason and what's that problem that they're looking to solve? And obviously then you can add that into your ad copy, you can add that to your site, you can have that really annoying live chat that pops up and terrifies people when it alerts and goes through. We can then have a look at conversion rates and kind of have a figure out on pages that just aren't tickling people's pickle and how we can map out that process. And the part of this as well is talking to our customers. So a lot of brands that I work with, I ask them, if you called one of your clients, what would your relationship be like? Could you have a really honest conversation and ask for critical feedback? Now, when we deliver feedback at Digital Ad Doctor, we call it a shit sandwich, because you want to have some good feedback, a bad feedback, and then end it with a good, because that's how your body reacts to information. And this is where you can go through on how you can retain current clients, find out any pain points. And there's a really cool hack called review mining. How many people in the room do review mining? I love you. So review mining is essentially going through Google reviews, Trustpilot, and reading what genuine customers say about your brand. You can find USPs on angles that it might have cleared that oily skin. It might have helped them commute better. But if you understand more about why they want that product, you can then sit with your sales team and be like, if someone came to the table and said, I'm interested, but I'd like a free trial. You as a salesperson, do you offer free trials? Do you offer free samples? They might say to you, if it's $100,000 deal, yeah, I would offer them my shirt. But you can say, okay, let's now build a landing page where we have a button that says, would you like a free PDF or would you like a sample delivered to your house? And once you start talking their language, we have this metric called a trust timer, and that will start ticking once your consumers feel a little bit more comfortable with you. So we go through all of these analogies here. And as you probably guessed, I'm a little bit of a weirdo, and I really love understanding the brain. Now, when we look at the brain, we all fundamentally have the same chromosomes, but what makes us different is our experiences and feelings, and that's what makes us unique. So this is where you have to really understand what people are doing on your site. So if you don't have anything like Hotjar on your site, or you don't have visual ping on your competitive websites, do that tomorrow, because it will save your bacon. But in terms of brain area as well, we also did a test, and what we found when we were looking at a site is a lot of their users had an ADHD persona. So when we granted them across to a form, they saw the form and they freaked, because it was a lot of information that we asked. So we had a look at Typeform. Has anyone in the room used Typeform? Perfect. Now, Typeform has this amazing ability that it paces through user experience. And what we found doing a test is we drove some people just to a generic WordPress WP7 form, and then we then took people through a Typeform that was visually appealing. It paced them through the experience, and we increased their conversion rate by 15%. Just from looking at their audience and going, how can we communicate better and how can we drive actions? Through that conversion rate, we increased their profits by 30% because their sales team then got information on the demographics behind it. So we all have demographics, but we all have psychographics, which is, again, is our feelings and our experiences. So again, this is why I love the brain, because you can really dig into what makes people tick. So I would love it if we could do a quick game. Is everyone up for a game? Is everyone vibing with a game? Perfect. So we have this thing, it's called the visual sellers, and essentially it's our distinction. So is anyone in the room vibing or feeling really confident and they would like to be my helper for today? Anyone? Yay, okay. I will pick you, my lovely. Could you pick a number?
Me?
Yeah.
11.
11, okay. Could you count to 11 for me?
1.
Okay, so as this man counts to 11, when we get to 11, I'll go to the next slide. Could you tell me what you see that's different?
9, 10, 11.
Anyone? What is different?
We already done.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I'm happy that we're all here. So when we look at this, we need to look at your sites, right? And this is your button placements. So when we look at our genetic structure and why we do what we do, right? We have to look at how we take in information. So we don't actually read things, we scan. And we scan when we're looking for objects, we scan when we're looking for text. And this is especially known when we look at anyone who's neurodivergent and they have dyslexia, for example. They scan through words. And this is where, when you look at your landing page and you look at your website, do you want to put your call to action where people scan, they look the most? Or do you want to put a picture of a puppy? What do you guys think? Probably a picture of a puppy. No, you're wrong. It will be a button. And this is where you have to look at your button placement and you have to look at your areas. because, as I said, we're all kind of gradient like this, is how we lived as beginning beings. So in the green psychology, there's over 600 shades, and this is how we hunt for information. So this is where you have to look at your website, and you have to look at where options are placed to see, are they also in the right buying cycle? So is everyone in that hunting mentality where they say buy car, or are they looking for a red dress? And if you look at the intent and you look at your site, you can then basically try and see if you can figure out where's the best place to put things. So I have a question. If you could think about what's important to a landing page, just a one word, does anyone have any one words on what they think is really important for their landing page?
Call to action.
Yeah, good. Anyone else?
Credibility.
Credibility, perfect. And anyone else? We like to do things in three in psychology. Anyone else?
Easy.
Easy. I like that, easy. That was a good. And you, my lovely, I saw you in the back.
Intuition.
Intuition. Okay. Well, the reason why I asked this question is because we have 3 zones in our brain. I told you guys I like the brain, and this kind of goes into it. Is we have our analytical mind and our cortex that we have. We then have our emotional mind, which is at the back, which is also known as our monkey brain. And then we have our reptilian, which is our instinctual. This is our easy. We want a site that is easy to use. We can click stuff and it doesn't break. But we also want a call to action, right? So this is where we then start tapping on 2 parts of our brain, on our analytical and our instinctual part, because we want to go on a journey, we want to have a story, we want to end that feeling. So we need to then have a look at those actions and look at those micro actions that we have. So I'm going to go into some facts and tips. So we have here your loss factor. Has anyone ever been to Tesco's and they've moved the milk? Yeah, it's annoying, isn't it? Because you feel like you've lost that one goal that your wife sent you out to go and get milk, and you can't find the milk, and you're freaked. And you're running up and down every aisle to try and find this oat milk because your wife doesn't drink skim milk. So you're literally scrambling. And this is where you have your search terms and your search intent. So if you have a look at your shorter form search terms, they're normally more urgent, you can then have a look at, essentially, if you had the ability of that pain being lost, that product being lost, what can you do to your ad copy and your landing pages? It's funny you should ask, because I'm a giver, so I just thought I'd give you some options. So to kind of reassure that trust timer, you'll have a look at money back guarantees for people that are maybe making a larger investments based on social preference. You then have a look at free trials. This is, again, going back and speaking to your customers and seeing why you lost that lead. Not a lot of businesses speak to their unqualified leads. So this is where you go back and you figure out, why weren't I the right fit for you? And could I then maybe put you into an email sequence where I could be the right fit for you later down the road? Or was it because you spoke to Dave, and Dave was a little bit too cockney, but if you spoke to Sam, you might get a better relationship with him. And this is where we have a look at your positioning statements, and this is your remarketing and how you portray yourself. Now, what we see now is that it's a lot more video focused, and in a panoramic world, which is so much fun, you can then have a look at how you tailor words and how you attract people in. We then have scarcity, which is going to be kind of really important when we go into Black Friday, which is looming on us. But this is where you look at your stock and you ask the questions to your brands of how much stock do you have left, and can you involve that in your call-out extensions in Google Ads, for example, and build in that moment that when people have, and we'll go into this, it's called availability hierarchies, where they will judge you before they even know you. And if you can already kind of put in that there's limited stocks and limited products, you kind of make them twitch and make them want to click you, which is a big win from that side. So you can tell I just put some options here. I won't go through it, but this is where you can build landing pages with tickers and sales countdowns where you can capture email addresses. And you also as well, I'm sure you've been on event websites where there'll be like someone in Bromley has bought a ticket and you're like, what do you mean someone in Bromley has bought a ticket? I'm going to go and buy a ticket because they bought a ticket. How dare they? But this is all about the psychology of you going, I'm competitive. How many people in the room are competitive? Yeah, we're in paid media. We're competitive as F. So this is where you go through into seasonal offers as well. So you look at your audience and you kind of go, what could I make this more attractive to users, and do backstock offers as well. So if you know that people are seasonally inclined, you can invite them into a microsite and let them shop beforehand and increase your profits. We then have that wonderful word that I just said. It's like I planned this deck beforehand. But you can go through the words that you use. So I found this really cool, or did I not? I deleted it. I found this really cool slide that goes through the words that we use. And this is where, if you look at your audience persona, and I want you to kind of put them into 3 buckets. Do they like reading stuff? Do they like seeing stuff? Or do they like hearing stuff? Because we all have 3 zones in how we like to do things. Now, I'm a hearer. I don't really like reading things, but if I can hear an audiobook, I am in for the kill. So this is where you look at that version, you look at how best you can take people through that journey and give them the probability, and that will increase your conversion rate. Oh, we've gone back. Hello. Then we have bandwagon effect. So I'm sure everyone's seen the influencers where they're like, buy the Silic Bang because it's awesome. This is where you have to go through review mining, which you spoke about. You have to look at other people that will create that trust timer. So if Janice has bought that pasta and she's maybe done a video of what it looks like afterwards, which is usually generated content, does that make you feel a lot more comfortable in opting in for a free trial? Or if we sent you maybe a smaller portion of that meal, would that make you feel comfortable? And if you have a look at these sites, I'm sure you've been there where they're like 2,000 people have bought this product and you're like, oh, I could be 2001. So this is where you have a look at if the product is popular, and if you're on e-commerce and you're showing bestsellers, for example, are those products going to give your brand the most profit? Or is it a developer that's going, these products have sold really good recently, so I'm just going to put them on this ticker and we'll see what happens. And this is where from paid, if you have a look at this, you can give them advice on search volumes and give them advice on what products should be at the top of their bestsellers based on what the audience is telling us. And you can then customize it for people. So when they come and they see that red dress, and they've been looking at that red dress, it's like a Jesus moment, but it's not. It's us doing the background work behind it. Oh, goodness me. So this goes into how that all works. Then we have our last rule, which I really love, which is the 2.5 rule. Does anyone know in the room what 2.5 rule could mean? Okay, so what I would love you guys to do tomorrow is set a stopcock on your phones whilst you're going through your clients' websites, and I want you to time yourself on how long it takes you from your website loading to you finding the contact form or number or a Twitter link. We're going to call it Twitter.
Okay.
But in 2.5 seconds, someone should be able to find out how to contact you and when you're available to have a conversation. And if they can't, they're going to get frustrated and leave. Everyone's attention spans at the moment are really teeny tiny. So this is where, if we can have those call outs where you know that your audience personas are listeners, for example, have a number at the top of your headline of your site so people can then just pick up the phone and give you a call, but track them. So have a unique number so you can track how many calls have come through. So then you can then attach operational costs from that. And what I kind of did here is I gave you a lot more than what you initially were expecting, so I hope you were quite happy with that. So we have 12 kind kind of key takeaways here, which is create a funnel, create a user journey. Look at your forums in terms of your audience and try and see if you can just give them the best information. The amount of forums that I've looked at where they've asked 12 questions from the get-go, it'd be like going on a first date. Imagine if you went on a date and there was Sam and he had a little pamphlet of 20 questions to ask you in one go. You would freak and run. So this is where you take your questions into bite-sized chunks and you court people through that relationship. We then go through here on audience perceptions and how they speak. We have here product markdowns as well. We tested with an e-com site, having buttons saying sale coming for these products. If you're interested, you can RSVP. And we got obviously email addresses of people that wanted to know that a sale was coming for a product because they were like me and tried to trick the system. How many people have tried to book a flight on a Tuesday hoping they get a remarketing discount by Thursday to then book it on a Saturday? Yeah. So if we know that people know how to break the system, you can then use that in your website and your conversion rate optimization to get more data. So this is just to have a look at all those hacks. And that is it, party people. My name is Freya.